Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. Anytime during this video, I'm very sorry, but you may hear wind chime clinking just outside the window. Not my wind chime, not my business to take it down. You may hear babies crying, two little infants about 6 months old, twins. I'm getting to the point where I can't hear it. I just don't notice. So I might just keep going, and you might hear it in the background, and I won't notice. Sorry about that. I'll try to edit it out if I can. But and you may hear a washer and dryer going in the background. You may even hear a TV, turn on. The cart may wiggle because this is sort of a little setup just to be in front of my backdrop here. Let's see, is that all the noises you might hear? Or you might hear voices of people talking just through the door behind the camera where you are sitting. Now, with that as my opening, I do have to say something about subconscious creativity. I have noticed this in the past. I lived in St. George, town in southern Utah, and a car one night rolled out of the garage across the way and into my wall and hit my kitchen sink and broke the sewer pipe off at the base, and they had to take a jackhammer and take out cement and re-pour and stuff. And the point is that I had to move on short notice. And the landlord had another place, but it was another $100 a month more, and we were already paying a lot. So instead we moved about 200 miles north to my folks' place, to my dad's place. I had opened a school. Some of my nieces and nephews and 8 other children from the town, with a niece and 2 nephews and 8 other children from the town. Now, after the car hit my wall, I didn't do many videos, and in fact it was a week or 2 after we got moved before I did any videos, maybe longer than that, maybe 3 weeks or something, because it disrupts the subconscious. Kingsley Amis, the British novelist, said, he's a writer, and he says, you can't go to your desk and write. You have to let your feet carry you there. He said, that's his phrase. And then he said, if your feet carry you away from the desk, you have to go away until they carry you back. There's no other way to do it. And Ayn Rand mentioned this. She said, if you've got a pair of white tennis shoes in the closet and you, for some reason, you don't want to write, it will occur to you to go clean those tennis shoes off because spring's coming. You want to take all the smudges off. Spring will be here in 4 months or something. Get your tennis shoes ready, right? Instead of writing an article or working on the manuscript for the book or whatever. Well, I've got the same disruption that happened when I moved from St. George to Delta, and again when I moved from Delta to New York. And my big creative phase in New York, I did put up quite a few videos for Hitchens on Orwell, which I don't think I've finished putting up, but I have finished recording, and these other videos. Put them up, a lot of them, after something weird happened in New York. I was there for several weeks, and I had a really creative burst for about a week after it had been too long, and I knew I had to get out of my brother's apartment at some point. It had been too long that I hadn't gotten a job. So at this point, if I got a job, I would be stuck in his house for weeks and weeks longer. So it'd be better for me to vacate and go stay with Bobby Sue up in Connecticut. So I quit worrying about getting a job and was simply staying in New York, doing the videos, and going to the meetups and meeting people. Then, after deciding to quit worrying about getting a job, and deciding to quit worrying about getting an apartment immediately, and deciding to quit worrying about how I'm going to stay in my brother's apartment so long, and deciding to quit worrying about going back and forth to Connecticut, I had a burst of creativity. My mind was able to focus on stuff. I didn't have anything in the back of my mind worrying. In the far back of my mind, I said, you're homeless. But in the immediate week or 2 ahead of me, I had nothing to worry about. Didn't even have any money to make a trip up to Connecticut for the weekend. Had to stay there that weekend. Large creative bit there. Interrupted when I got kicked out for my very rude opinion of my brother's book about Francis Bacon, which I said has glossy paper, so it's useless. You can't even, Francis Bacon, the artist, modern artist, can't even wipe your butt with it because it's glossy paper. So I knew it was coming. Let me turn Mozart back on. I knew it was coming. I knew I was going to have to leave there at some point. I knew the situation would change, but I knew that it was stable in the short term, and that was enough to get my mind freed. Moved up here to Connecticut. Had to rearrange the room, this room here. Sleeping on an air mattress. Air mattress pops. We don't have a new mattress yet. You know, my mind's on all kinds of things. Heating oil's too expensive. Large house. They don't have money for heating oil, so they use a little electric heaters here and there. That's twice as expensive as heating oil. But they've got a fireplace. They don't use the fireplace because wood's too expensive. But they have woods all around the house. So I went to the store, bought a saw, and we're burning wood harvested from around their house, which they never would have done because there's all kinds of excuses. The wood's wet, the wood's too dry, the wood's got bugs, the wood doesn't have bugs, the wood used to have bugs. You know, there's a million reasons not to go out and get wood, and I just went out and got it. And that's one thing that I do for about 4 hours a day on average. Some days I spend 8 to 10 hours gathering wood, and then I can go for a day without gathering any. And the point is to keep the furnace turned off. That's one thing that I've been doing with my time as I'm readjusting. I might get a job as a cook or something. That's in the back of my mind. I'm trying to put it out of my mind, because it'd be hard to go tell a restaurant near here, "Hi, can I work with you for 4 to 8 weeks? Maybe 12 at the most, right? A month, 2 months, 3 at the most." I would have to lie to them and say, "Yeah, I do plan to stay and work with you." You couldn't, maybe I'll get hired temporarily for the holidays or something somewhere, but that's something that's in the back of my mind all the time. And the fire, and keeping the house heated, and gathering the wood, and doing YouTube videos is somewhere in there, but that's the creative bit, right? I can go out and cut firewood without subconscious creativity. I would be able to go to a job as a cook or a waiter without subconscious creativity. But I can't make YouTube videos without subconscious creativity, without ideas and other ideas connected to them, and a purpose, a reason for these, and the ultimate goal of what I want to say in a video. I have to have these things worked out. I have to mold them over, either in writing or just in my mind. And if I'm distracted, it's not possible to do. I've heard Rand talk about it, Kingsley Amis. I heard Hitchens talk about it. Hitchens said, as a writer, you always feel guilty if you're not working, because there's no way to know when you should be working, because you work for yourself. You just write when you want to. And so whenever you're not working, you feel guilty. So right now, with 4 to 8 weeks before we move to New York, not a lot that I can do in the short term. You might think I could just let my creativity bud here in the short term, which I hope I can. I hope I'll try to do. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this pair of twins right through this wall, 6-month-old twins. I can't film in this room on the weekends because there are people here watching TV. I can't film after about 5 p.m. because there are people here watching TV. So it's only during the weekdays, during the daytime, that I can film. Even then, I have to keep my voice sort of low because there are sleeping babies in the house. And I'm about to have to turn the camera off and go cut some firewood because it's getting a bit chilly in the house. And I'm out of the small, good-sized logs. There's perfect-sized logs. There's big ones. There's ones you split, and you have to have that inch and a half diameter by about a foot and a half. Those are the perfect size to keep the bigger logs burning. And that's what's in the back of my mind right now, is I'm going to have to go out and find some good dry wood. Again, make another trip out in the forest. And even though I'm here with nothing to do really besides sit and wait for 4 to 8 weeks, still there are all these interruptions to subconscious creativity. And I didn't take for granted, clear back in St. George, when I had, we didn't have anyone living under us, Well, sometimes here in Connecticut